Okay, people, this is himself, and I recently went to watch Pacific Rim Uprising. So, in this video, I'm going to share with you my thoughts and opinions on the movie. For those of you who don't know, Uprising is a sequel to the 2013 movie directed by Guillermo del Toro. That starred Charlie Hunnam, Idris Elba, and Rinko Kikuchi. The plot involved humans piloting giant mechs called Jaegers to battle giant monsters called Kaiju. These emerge from an interdimensional portal in the Pacific Ocean, hence the name of the movie. The final act resulted with the humans successfully closing the portal, bringing an end to the war. Uprising takes place 10 years later. With the war over, people have begun salvaging Jaeger parts either for sale or to build their own. And the plot involves Liu and Xiao, played by Jing Tian, looking to introduce a program to control Jaegers using drones. While this is happening, Jake Pentecost, played by John Boyega, son of Idris Elba's character from the first movie, ends up having to train a new generation of pilots along with Nate Lambert, played by Scott Eastwood. So that's the factual stuff. But before I go into my thoughts, I think it's important to mention that Uprising almost didn't happen. The studio felt that the original movie didn't make enough money, and so the project was put on hold. Fortunately, it did very well in China, and so this injected some life into it. However, it still had some hurdles to overcome. Charlie Hunnam decided to do another movie, and Guillermo del Toro decided to work on Shape of Water. So this left fans like me a bit worried. On a side note, Shape of Water was actually a great move for Del Toro because it bagged him an Oscar for Best Director. But back to Uprising. Legendary Pictures, which produced the first movie, was taken over by a Chinese corporation known as Wanda, who decided to press ahead. They managed to get John Boyega on board and found a director in Stephen DeKnight, and eventually the movie got the green light, got shot, and got made. So, after seeing it, what are my thoughts? Well, first of all, I think that Uprising has a much lighter tone in comparison to its predecessor. The battles take place during the day, you have these young pilots involved, and the dialogue also seems less serious. However, I much preferred the style of the first movie. The original seemed more tense, the Kaiju threat seemed more significant, and I felt that this suited the theme of the movie much better. So, Uprising just seems a little too light-hearted for me. Let's move on to the cast and the characters. The main man is Jake Pentecost, who's played by John Boyega. Most of you will recognize him from Star Wars and Detroit, but what some of you won't know is that he was actually in a few episodes of 24 Live Another Day, where he played a drone pilot. So he's gone from controlling drones to controlling a giant mech. I call that a step up. In terms of his role in the movie, he's a core part of it. He holds everything together, but I find it difficult to relate to his character or even like him. I was expecting to him to be more like Stacker Pentecost from the first movie, seeing that that's his dad. But it almost feels like the two are unconnected. There's not enough in the movie to explain why he chose to abandon the Jaeger program and his reasons for rejoining it. His reasons for rejoining it are just unimaginative. Starring alongside him, we have Scott Eastwood, who plays his former co pilot, Nate Lambert. While Nate is a stark contrast to Jake, I didn't like him either. He just seems incredibly bland and one dimensional, and Scott's face hardly changes throughout the movie, and the friction between him and John's character, um, doesn't come through. There's actually a moment in the movie where the two of them make a shocking discovery, and Scott just looks unconvincing. As part of the cast, we also have Jing Tian, who plays Liu and Xiao. If she looks familiar, then it's because she's appeared in The Great Wall and Kong Skull Island, both of which are also produced by Legendary Pictures. And it makes sense for her to be in the movie. As I said earlier, the original Pacific Rim did great in China, so why not appeal to that market with a Chinese actress? With regards to her performance, I think she does pretty well portraying a stern, no-nonsense CEO. She makes it clear that she's the one in charge, so that's the definite positive there. The last two characters I want to talk about are Amara, played by Kaylee Spaney, and Dr. Newton, played by Charlie Day. I think Amara is one of the highlights of the movie. She makes serious contributions to the plot and often overshadows some of her co-stars. Newton, on the other hand, is well, what happens to him is just wacky, even for this movie. In the original Pacific Rim, both him and his associate, Dr. Herman, added that welcome humor while everybody else was being serious. However, in Uprising, it just does not work, and it seems like his role was forced into place. He's probably one of the worst parts of the movie, and one we could have done without. Finally, I'm going to talk about what I think is the main appeal of the movie, and that is the Jaegers. In the original, we saw, I think it was five different ones, and the battles with the kaiju were impressive. But in Uprising, I just wasn't blown away like the first time, and I think I know why. Firstly, all the battles took place during the day, and this may have been in response to criticism stating that it always took place in the dark and at sea. However, it's the darkness and the rain that added to the atmosphere. When else would a monster appear? The darkness also makes colors stand out, especially with the eyes of the kaiju. But in Uprising, you just don't get that. On top of that, the physical properties of the Jaegers are poorly conveyed. In the first movie, it felt like the pilots were under serious physical and mental strain to get these machines to move. But also every movement was slow and heavy, and this was enhanced by the sound, and it all added up to each impact feeling colossal. I also remember seeing where one of the Jaegers picks up a shipping freighter and uses that as a weapon, so this gives a sense of scale. However, in Uprising, the Jaegers seem to move too fast to give you that feeling of weight. You've also got these kids piloting them, so it seems like it's easy. Sure, they sweat a little bit, but that's about it. One of the arguments for this is that over time you're going to develop technology that allows easy use. But for me, it's just not right, and the original did the main attraction of the movie way better. So based on this, you can kind of guess what my verdict is. Uprising is not by no means a bad movie. After all, it knocked Black Panther off the top spot, but it just pales in comparison to its predecessor. Maybe I was expecting too much from it, but the best I can give it is 3 stars, and only just. It pains me to say this because the first movie is one of my favorites, and should a third movie be made, then I hope that the original production team are all involved. Let's get Del Toro back in the director's chair, and give it a darker tone, so that what we end up with is something as epic as the first. So that brings my video to a close. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you liked it, then give me a like and subscribe. And if you have any opinions, then say so in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the future.